Hi, welcome to a new information pill of the channel Wikiscadi. Today, we want to move away from our usual focus on the UN procurement system and talk about the organization itself as a global entity. In a short, concise, and hopefully entertaining way, we will explain what is the UN, why and how it was born, what is its mandate, the changes it has experienced since its birth, and its role in today's world. In short, what is the UN? So let's get started. In order to understand the context in which the UN was born, we need to go back to the year 1919, more specifically to the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, which put an end, sort of, to the First World War, the first truly global conflict in history, which had begun in 1914. In 1919, a year after World War I ended, the League of Nations, forerunner of the current UN, was created with a clear mandate of preventing a conflict as destructive as the First World War from ever happening again. Considering what happened only a couple of decades later, the League of Nations was dissolved in 1946, having been unable to prevent the outbreak of World War II. This 2-minute video summarizes those 6 years of conflict in the most respectful possible way. The name United Nations was first used in 1941 at the height of World War II, when representatives of 26 nations wrote the United Nations Declaration, in which they pledged to fight together against the Axis nations. The origin of the United Nations Charter goes back to the Atlantic Charter signed on August 14, 1941, in which Franklin D. Roosevelt, President of the United States of America, and Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, made known some principles on which to base their hopes for a better future for the world, and which are common to the national policy of their respective countries. On January 1, 1942, 26 nations at war with the Axis powers, including the United States, the United Kingdom, China and the Soviet Union signed the Common Program of Purposes and Principles stated in the Atlantic Charter in a document called the United Nations Declaration, in which the term United Nations was officially used for the first time. 21 other states joined the declaration at a later date. The United Nations Charter, along with the Statute of the International Court of Justice included in it, was unanimously adopted and signed on June 26, 1945 in San Francisco, although it did not come into force until October of that year. China was granted the honor of being the first country to sign the Charter, as China was the first nation to be attacked by the Axis powers. The charter around which the organization was born established 4 fundamental purposes that represent the main mandate of the UN to this day. First, maintaining international peace and security. Second, promoting friendly relations among nations. Third, providing solutions to global problems through international cooperation. And fourth, to act as a center that harmonizes efforts to achieve these purposes. Today, the United Nations includes 193 countries, all represented in the main debating body, the General Assembly. As mentioned, China was the first nation to sign the Charter, followed by the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, France, and the United States. Since its signature, the Charter of the United Nations has been reformed 3 times, the first in 1965, the second in 1968, and the third and last in 1973. The United Nations is made of 6 organs. The General Assembly, where all 193 member nations are represented, meets every year in September to begin a new assembly period, and it does so in this great hall that you have most likely seen at some point on TV, internet, the newspaper, or in school. The Security Council includes only a small group of countries, as you can see on screen, is made up of 15 members, each with 1 assigned vote. 5 of these members are permanent and hold what we know as the veto power. These 5 countries correspond to the Allied countries and winners of World War II, the United Kingdom, China, France, the Soviet Union, and the United States. The presidency of the Council changes every month. The other 10 countries are not permanent members of the Security Council. And all nations are eligible for non-permanent membership. Currently, the non-permanent members until the end of the year 2020 are Belgium, Germany, South Africa, Indonesia, and the Dominican Republic. And until the end of 2021, Niger, St. Vincent, Estonia, Tunisia, and Vietnam. To understand what veto power means, we need to go back again to the end of World War II. At that time, China, France, the USSR, the United Kingdom, and the United States played a major role in the creation of the UN. The fathers of the UN Charter were confident that these 5 countries would continue to play an important role in keeping international peace and security. That is why they were given a special voting power known as the right of veto, which means that if one of these countries did not agree with the Security Council resolution, it could override it through this special right. Obviously, the world situation has changed radically since that distant 1945, but the system of binding decisions by the Security Council has not changed at all, which leaves enormous room for debate and critical thinking. The third organ is the Economic and Social Council. This is the forum for discussing international economic and social issues and formulating policy recommendations for member states and the UN system. It controls regional offices, funds and programs, and specialized agencies. The fourth organ is the Trusteeship Council. It was originally given the task of supervising the administration of trust territories, promoting the development of their inhabitants, and the achievement of self-government or total independence. These territories were 11, all told, all dependent on or colonies of other nations and are located in Africa and the Pacific. The 11 territories gradually achieved their independence, and the Trusteeship Council ceased its activity in 1994, but did not disappear. As this organ is included into the Charter of the United Nations, in order to eliminate it, a charter reform would be needed, which would leave the door open to further reform, like eliminating the veto power, for example. Fifth organ, the International Court of Justice. It is the only major organ not located in the city of New York, but in the Palace of Justice in The Hague, the Netherlands. It is the judicial organ of the United Nations and fulfills a double mission: resolving disputes raised by member states and giving opinions on legal matters raised by UN organs. The Security Council also established two criminal courts: the International Criminal Court for the former Yugoslavia and the International Criminal Court for Rwanda to try war crimes. Sixth and last organ, the Secretariat, which is the main body of the United Nations, chaired by the Secretary General, a position currently held by Mr. Antonio Guterres of Portugal. The figure of the Secretary General is recommended in the Security Council and then appointed for a 5-year period in the General Assembly. The Secretariat is organized in departments: coordination of humanitarian aid, peacekeeping operations, counterterrorism, and more. Each one is assigned a goal and a responsibility. All these departments coordinate with each other to ensure the daily run of the offices and delegations of the UN all around the world. In 2020, the United Nations celebrates its 75th birthday and will continue to work to keep international peace and security through its worldwide missions. Times change, and the UN changes with them, even if a bit slow. As part of this change, a fifth principle has been added to its 4 original ones: fighting climate change. We hope this video helps you understand the UN, its mandate and organization a bit better. It is a very complex organization and, as such, not impervious to mistakes, which could make for lengthy debates. This, however, is not the aim of this video, conceived only as an information pill. We invite you to browse and like other videos on the Wikiscadi channel, and if you find them interesting, we also invite you to follow us and subscribe or drop a comment. Thanks a lot for your attention and see you soon!